Out there. We are facing challenges. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is there audio? Will you guys let me know? Can anybody hear me? Okay, sound is on. We're going to get Morgan back on. We're going to figure this out. Morgan, can you request again? I'm sorry. Thank you guys for being patient. All right. Did you guys enjoy Chris Sullivan? He is the best. Morgan is awesome. We're going to get her on in a moment. Thank you for bearing with us. We're all human. Apparently technology is human too. And we're going to just waiting for Morgan to request. I know lives always go wrong. I think she means Instagram lives. Hopefully. All right, Morgan, I see you. Okay.
Are we here? Okay.
So, last time we added you and then it just like my
It
phone
just disappeared.
Restarted.
Yeah,
I'm so
it just
sorry.
totally
Thanks for
shut
being
me
patient.
out. No, it's okay. It's okay. We're here. And thank you everyone else for
Yeah. My buddy Chad and I did this the other day and we were having trouble, and the one, I don't know, takeaway I felt like was it's sort of a like if this is hard, it's a reflection of the fact that life is hard for so many people right now, and we're just doing our best, and there are things we can't control. So thank you to everyone for being patient. Morgan, thank you for saying yes and wanting to be here today.
Of course, of course. It's an honor. Oh, how am I doing? You know, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Starting out, you know, this really kind of hit close to home. I have quite a few loved ones, people very close to me who are in the high risk group who can definitely be impacted by the coronavirus. So very early on, I was just sort of in a mode of like just not really knowing how to process this. I'm like, what can I do? And yeah, I feel like I'm in a place now where I'm just like, you know what? We're just going to take this day by day, breath by breath. And I'm just grateful to see all of the days that we've made it through and that we're here. It's a blessing to just be alive right now. So yeah, I'm grateful. I think that's probably the biggest word I have for right now.
Was there anything that was helpful, or what kind of helped you make that shift from that anxiety or fear to, I'm sure there's still uncertainty, but just was there anything helpful over the course of the last few days?
Yes. So I had like a lot of plans for the spring. We were getting ready to plan to do like a lot of events, and as the events were all getting canceled, and I suddenly had to start to rework what I was working on. And in that process of reworking, I think I've started to find maybe even some of the I enjoy doing that I didn't have time to do. And it's like, yes, there's really scary, chaotic thing going on in the world right now where people are dying and it's heartbreaking. And at the same time, the fact that I'm still alive and I'm finding a sense of aliveness, even in small things, like the fact that I slept in an hour extra yesterday, and I don't normally do that because I've had a lot of work lately, and I'm like, I don't have time to sleep in. I got to get up and work. You know, I have a 10-month-old. I have this and that. And now that I don't have these places to be, even though it's a loss of income and that sucks, at the same time, it's like, oh, my body needs this rest though. It's like I slept through that alarm because my body was like, you need to rest. So yeah, I think it's just a series of little things, slowly but surely. And I'm starting to kind of look back over the past few days and find that gratitude for little things. As cliche as that may sound.
Oh, So I asked Chris this question. I think it's an important question right now for all of us because we're limited in so many ways. Obviously, we're limited in where we can go. We're limited in businesses that are open. And so it's easy to feel like being healthy, we face limitations, and even practicing self-care, we face limitations. And so I wonder, what are there rhythms or what has self-care looked like in the last couple weeks?
Yes, self-care for me has come down to two big categories. And one of those is rest. It's realizing that naps are self-care, even when we've got stuff to do, bills to pay, like we still got to sleep. We got to sleep. And I've just noticed that when I haven't slept, I feel different. And when I have slept, I feel a little better. Like, doesn't mean everything's fixed in life. But, I think as we grow up, it's harder. Like, I don't know if other people feel this way, but sometimes I feel guilty for taking a nap. It's like, who am I to take a nap when there's all this stuff to do and there's all these things going on? It's like, we have to, like, we'll literally break apart. So just naps. Honestly,
sure. I think it's naps. Also, I won't put words in your mouth, but I'm not a huge fan of hustle culture, which I think in a way is, it's where some of that stigma comes from, that idea that we, I'm important and I only sleep 4 or 5 hours a night and I'm so busy, who needs a nap? So to me, what you're saying is really healthy. And I've even seen in the comments, people saying, yes, naps.
Because sometimes I put that pressure on myself of like, oh, I need to do something peaceful. So let me go make some art or create poetry. It's like, or take a nap, And then the other thing is, I've just been trying to like, I'll just say it, like, we bought some Oreos and I was just like, you know what? I want some Oreos. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, let me get the little mini pack, No, we're getting the whole thing double stuffed and we're going to eat some Oreos. And, and it's just like little things like that. It's so simple, and in my normal busy life, and I feel pressure and to be healthy, that's a real thing for sure. And with that also, it's just like we all have these small things that can just bring us joy, like just like even just today, we've been I heard Chris mentioned just looking out for people that you are neighbors with. And my neighbors are my parents, who are, both of them are in high risk group. And we're trying to keep them like, if you need anything, let us know, we'll get it. And my husband went to the store today and like picked up some snacks. And they were just like nostalgic snacks that I haven't eaten since the 90s. And we just like all had like a funny chat about it. And it was just so fun. And it was like, even in this chaos, like this scary thing that, I'm nervous for my parents to go to the grocery store. Like, that's not something I was saying a month ago. And even in that, like, we're still in our group chat, like laughing about these snacks. So just trying to hold those moments a lot more dearly. So,
and then I do want to get to your work, and I know your work is deeply personal, and I'll brag about you a little. I love to tell people that you're just a force for good. I know that your art, your words encourage so many people. I mean, literally thousands of people every single day. And so I wonder, what has that meant? What has it meant to create art and to write over the last couple weeks? I feel like that's true. Your ability and opportunity to encourage people is there every single day. But I wonder just kind of what you've been feeling as you've created for people over the last couple weeks.
Yes. So I've shared this before. So, one of the things which I know you can relate to is, when you share things on the internet, like you get all kinds of feedback, and some of it's pushback. Some of it's people saying, I don't agree with that. And the biggest thing that I get in response to what I share in people and a group of people who haven't agreed with my work in the past is saying things like, you're not motivational enough, you're not pushing people to like move forward enough, like kind of like we were saying about like hustle culture of just like, people can feel what they need to feel, but they also need to move on, da 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 da. And my thing has always just been like, okay, maybe for you, but I'm not going to say that to someone who's grieving right now. I'm not going to say that to someone who's experienced tremendous loss in their life. Like, those aren't the words that I'm going to say to someone who is writing to me from a hospital bed. So I write to that person. And one thing that I've just been really grateful for, because I have had moments where I'm just like, how on earth do I manage to be positive? Like, how on earth can I even say anything at all? But I've been really grateful and proud of myself that the messages and emails that I was receiving, I'm like, that hasn't changed. I was like, we're still like you and I, Jay, we were talking about this before. It's like there are people who are dealing with difficult things like before this happened. And I'm just happy to see that the topic of peace is still relevant. The topic of like just not like breathing, inhaling and exhaling, like that's huge. If you can do that right now, like that is not a small feat. That is a sign of strength. And I'm just grateful that to be in a time where it's like we're talking about those things more. And I know that doesn't fix the issue, but for me that's really important. And I've always said, I'm like, if I were going to like lose followers or not be a popular author because I'm not encouraging people to hustle harder, I'm okay with that. Because I really do think in this fast-paced world we need more reminders from all of us. Like, it's okay to just stay slow. And so yeah, that's honestly what I've just been writing about to people, and I hope to keep that up.
Yeah, I asked you this earlier, but we didn't have an audience. But are you ever surprised by the pieces or the posts that resonate with people? And I know you touched on kind of the struggle of, you know, whether it's, is this good enough, or is it hopeful enough? Is it motivational enough? Are there moments, or even recently, where you've been surprised by how things are received?
Yes. When Chris was talking about imposter syndrome, I was like, whew, I feel that, because I've had the opportunity recently to do some really cool things as an artist. But with that comes like, who am I to be here? Like, I'm a nobody. Why, like, why be? Like, someone clearly made a mistake. And one of the most humbling things, though, is that I have started to see that sometimes, like, when I say the most simple things, the things that I'm like, this is just the most cliche, ordinary, no one's going to care. Like, everyone's going to be like, she is such a joke of a writer. Those that I barely post, those are the ones that end up being received the most. And
yeah.
I think I think for me it's just humbling, because it's like, okay, I put all this pressure on myself to be deep and to like outdo myself from the last time. Like, I don't know if you ever feel like that as a writer, where you're just like, oh, I wrote that and people connected with it. I guess I got to go deeper now. I guess I got to like find another angle.
Or like, I already said that. Is there a new way to say that?
Yes, exactly. So one of the most recent things I posted, it was a piece called "You Are Stronger Than You Think," and I almost didn't share it because I was like, how many times has that been said? But then when I shared it, I was just reminded. I'm like, well, how many times have I needed to be reminded of that? Like, how many times over the course of my 30 years of life that I almost wanted to give up, or I was just like, that's it. I'm too weak. I'm not this. I'm not that. And if I had just seen that, what that would have meant to me. So yeah, that's what I'm finding right now. I think there could be a lot of pressure right now to feel like you've got to like say something really profound and that's never been said. But a lot of times it's those constant things, those truths that people already know. Just being reminded of that. So yeah.
So I know that you inspire a lot of people. You encourage a lot of people, and I'm referencing our previous conversation, but I'm sure people wonder, where does Morgan Harper Nichols find inspiration? And I know, based on one thing you shared earlier, people may be surprised by where you find inspiration.
Yeah. Yes, I find inspiration in a lot of places. The shelf behind me, books like this. I mean, authors who are sharing their voices And I didn't stage that for this. It's legitimately right there on my shelf. Like, I was like, wait a second. But really, though, I do love to read. I love to read a lot. And I also love real conversations, though. I love text messages. I love FaceTimes. Like, I get inspired by books. I get inspired by what I see on social media. But the things that I will often repeat to myself have often come from FaceTime conversations with friends. They've often come from text messages. And I just think that there's so much beauty in that. Like, I have this like weird thing I think about. I'm like, I think that some of the most profound things that have ever been said, like, in the world, I'm talking about like the history of all time, or happened in living rooms with a grandma and her 3 grandkids, and we'll never hear it. I firmly believe. I'm like, I think that it's those small moments, it's those intimate settings where there's so much truth in life comes. And I think with social media, it can, or just, mass media in general, yes, there are a lot of powerful things being said, but it can sometimes cause us to forget that, like, but also, like, your grandma or your aunt or your coach or your therapist, like, said something, and they may not even have followers, and it has just as much of an impact. So yeah, I try to look for inspiration in the real life places as much as I can.
No, that's so good. And I think my hope is that people hear that and they reflect on their own life, because hopefully we're all connected to other people. And so suddenly your follower count goes out the window, because hopefully we're all experiencing relationships and conversations, text messages, FaceTime.
Yeah.
And so I think you're shining a light on things that could be overlooked as small. And to me, that's important. One thing I wanted to ask, if someone is watching and they see you, they see, wow, she's doing it, she's succeeding, over 1 million followers. I have 22 followers. Is anyone going to care? Is it even worth it for me to share this poem or this photo, or to share something I wrote? I wonder, and I know you get this, so I wonder what you might offer to someone in that place.
Yeah, for sure. I am someone who has, in my life, dealt with a real feeling of loneliness. In my life, I've dealt with that a lot over the past just decades of my life. And one of the things that I found was that I connected to people through words. And when I would go to events and I felt like everyone was making friends but me, or when I was in college and I felt that way and I felt like I was just outside of the friend circle, I wasn't quite in it. It was words and it was writing and art that often helped me connect with other people. And I bring that up because I think that when we create things, sometimes it can be like, okay, well, I don't have followers though. But if you really break it down to, if 22 people follow you, or one person follows you, or you have you don't even have social media, like you're watching this on someone else's phone, and you have one contact in your phone, and it's your mom or your brother, you have the ability to make an impact in that person's life. And we can't like calculate what that impact is. I think that sometimes if you try to make a big impact, it doesn't always work out that way. A lot of times it is those small things, like you sending your brother a funny meme today that only you and him are going to find funny. I think that is just as powerful, if not more powerful, than sharing with Instagram followers. I do. I'm someone, like, I have a sister who is also like an influencer, and we've got followers and YouTube accounts and all the stuff we do. And still, she and I, our whole texting thread is just GIFs and memes. And because we're both like new moms and we're both like in the house all the time now. We both like work for ourselves and we're constantly having to do all these things. And then at the end of the day, it's like, our conversations aren't about like, what deep thing are we going to post? It's real things. So I just want to encourage you to, you know, and I don't want to give like a cliche talk of like, get off social media. Like, I'm not going to say that. Like, there's a lot of good that happens here. I just want to encourage you. It's like for everything that you post on social media, like find at least one person you can connect with. Just a meme. Like, it doesn't even have to be like a meme to your sibling. It doesn't have to be to like, you know, you don't have to come up with like how can I connect with everyone I've ever known in my phone? Just do something simple, something small, and just trust that is a seed that was sown and it matters. So, yeah.
So this is, no, what's up with that echo? Oh, I'm sorry about that. I don't know if it's,
I can, oh, I thought I had some headphones, but I don't think I do.
I'm sorry, you guys. So this one is, I want to get Morgan's take, and want to invite you, if you have a question, we would love to see that. We're lucky to have her, and we'll get to a few more of these. But Morgan, what's your take on this? Has writing helped your healing?
Yes. One of my favorite writers, her name is Joan Didion, and she says, I write to know what I feel. And when I saw that, I was like, huh. Because I'm one of those people that even when my therapist asked me, how do I feel? I'm like, I don't know, actually. So what I started doing, even going to therapy, I would actually just read my notes and just read my journal entries. And then right there, it was like, oh, well, here's something we could talk about then. Because I think, you know, for some, I actually did ask the question this like on my Instagram like a year ago. And this isn't like scientifically backed or anything. This is just like my followers. I was like, do you prefer to write things out or talk things out? And it was like 50-50.
Yeah.
Like there were some people who were like, oh, I got to talk it out with someone. And there's some people like, I got to write it out. I was like, oh, I feel like that's a pretty valuable distinction. Like, because sometimes, you know, somebody might like, I'm sorry, journaling doesn't really help me like that. Or, you know, talking it out doesn't really help you. So I think knowing what works for you is important. So yeah. For me, journaling is it. I have just notebooks filled with random thoughts that no one will probably ever read. But it's okay. It's okay. It's part of getting it out.
How do you decide what to share?
That's a really great question. I decide what to share when I feel like I could share it with one other person. So if it's something where I'm like, I'm not quite sure, is that too much? Is that too vulnerable? I'm like, well, if I would share this with one person who was going through this, then I'm just going to trust that there's at least one person out there. And if other people are like, I don't get it, that wasn't for me, that is okay. So, and there's some things where I don't have that feeling. Like I write it and I get ready to share, and I'm like, you know, I don't know if I could just hand this to somebody without, you know, like, I don't think I could share this because I don't know if it would make sense. I don't know if it would come across in that way. So yeah, I just imagine, I'm like, could this be sent to someone? You know, could this be sent to someone in a conversation or a text message or a letter? And then that's what I would share. So, yeah.
So this is I'm going to read it because I feel like it may get cut off.
Okay.
And this is from a friend of mine. I recently heard the idea that we're all going through stages of grief. I wonder if you found that to be true and how you're dealing with this.
That is a really good question. You know, when I think about the stages of grief, you know, I feel like I could speak for myself here. And I think, yes, I think it for me. And I like to kind of think of it with like, maybe not always a big G grief, you know, but there's small griefs. Like one thing I've been talking a lot about on my page is about how, you know, there are people who are grieving the loss that they may not get to graduate this year. They may not walk across the stage and have a graduation. And a lot of people are just expressing that like they felt bad for grieving that, because they're like, well, in the grand scheme of things, like that's not that big of a loss. But it is still a loss. So, you know, I think in one way or another, yeah, like I think in one way or another, we're all, oh, someone's at grievances. That's the word. I was like, griefs.
You're a writer. You can make up
Yeah.
words.
I'm a writer because I'm trying to learn words. Clearly, I don't know them. But yeah, I think so, and I think that's why it's just so important that we continue to be kind to one another, because we never know what kind of loss someone's walking through at any given moment. You never know.
I do think it's a silver lining to this moment we're in, because we're all facing. Sorry for the echo. We're all facing at least discomfort and probably loss on some level.
Yeah.
Probably in whatever field we're in, whatever company we work for, there are real challenges. Like there are, you know, so many people are concerned about, can I keep getting paid? Can I keep my job? There's a cost to this for all of us, even if it's short term. For some of us, the cost is tremendous. People have lost loved ones. Some people have lost their lives. Other people, have lost jobs. And then you touched on kind of these unique losses of just from this, what life looked like, and the absence of that. Things we were looking forward to that have maybe been canceled. So I think that was a really good question. Yeah. I'm going to find you another one if that's okay.
Sounds good. Enjoying hanging out with you guys.
Oh, I'm glad.
Oh,
so
yes.
Tips on journaling.
Tips on journaling. So I kind of showed a little bit of my journal that I had here. It's kind of hard to hold it up, but I'll just do like a little quick flip through. And this is sort of the reason I'm showing this is because when it comes to journaling, I'm all over the place. Like I won't even like fill the page all the time. I break the rules a lot. Sometimes I just scribble. I was in a workshop not too long ago and I heard someone say, I don't want to write in this pretty journal because I'm scared to mess it up. And I was like, oh no, like that's what your journal is for. I'm like, this is your space to mess up. Like this is your space to just write random thoughts, songs, poetry, grocery lists. So yeah, I would say that for someone who's never tried journaling or hasn't done it in a very long time and they're just not actively journaling right now, I would say literally open your journal and start writing, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, but I'm going to journal anyway.
Yeah.
Fill the whole page and that's it. That matters. That counts.
Yeah.
I think that's the best place to start.
I'm going to piggyback on that because I give people that advice as it relates to having hard conversations or as it relates to expressing concern. So many times we don't know what to say, and I just encourage people to start there. Like if you have to show up or you get to show up for someone, and the most honest thing you can say is, I don't know how to do this. I don't have the words, but I love you. Mm-hmm. Like start
that's
there.
Huge.
Yeah,
that's huge because presence is so valuable, and in many cases it's more valuable than words. And to just show that like, oh, I showed up to the page that day, even though I had no idea what to say. Yeah. Like that matters. So totally. I feel like 75% of my journal is that. Like it's a lot of scribble, a lot of just trying to be consistent at showing up because I know that something is coming alive in that space. So
yeah. Let me for another one.
I'm gonna drink some water out my jar here.
Oh yeah, basic needs. So I'm curious about this one. I think this is one that we can all relate to. So how do you find the courage to share your voice?
How do you find the courage to share your voice? I think the way, and I'm just trying to think about my own story and what happened, is find the smallest group of people, the smallest possible group of people to start sharing with or start sharing for, and just go from there. And for me, that even though I write for a lot of other people now, for me, it started with myself. That person was myself. The first poem that I shared that ended up getting shared quite a bit was one that was essentially just admitting to myself that I felt like a failure. I was halfway through my 20s. I was broke, had a career change, living in state number 3. I was married. My husband and I were both doing freelance, paycheck to paycheck. And I essentially wrote all the things I was feeling in that season into a poem. And that poem was like, you know what? If nobody else relates to this, it's okay, because I know that I need to be reminded of this right now, even if I don't believe it. Like,
Yeah.
I wrote the poem and it was like, it has a positive ending. And when I wrote the ending, I said, I don't even believe this right now, but I think I had to write it for a reason. Yeah. And that ended up being the poem that started the whole thing of what I'm doing. Yeah. So yeah, don't worry about writing for the masses. Don't worry about writing for invisible people on the internet. I'm sure they're great. There's some great people out there you have not met yet, and I really hope you meet them someday. But right now, there's something that is a side of you that you need to hear echoed back to you, and that goes for the people in your life. Like I said, it could be your friends, but it could also be a sibling. It could be a grandparent. Yeah. It could be an elderly neighbor. Start where you are.
I love to remind people that things get easier when we practice them. And
practice is a huge word. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, and that can be true of writing or public speaking, but it can also be true of vulnerability. Yeah. You know, the more we talk about mental health, not only do we invite other people to talk about mental health, but it becomes easier. Sometimes I think about the hour that I'm in counseling each week. It's almost like I'm practicing for the rest of the week. Like, yes. I'm learning how to talk about these hard parts of my life. But I also think whether it's poetry, writing, I mean, I think about how nervous public speaking used to make me, 10 years ago compared to now. And I think anything that we spend time with, it does become easier. And so I think I love that advice hopefully applies across the board, no matter what someone wants to do, even if it only relates to mental health or vulnerability, just encouraging people to, maybe you share a little bit and then you share a little more. And hopefully over time we kind of build that muscle and we learn how to do it.
For sure. Yep. A little bit at a time.
Are you down to do a couple more?
Yeah.
I have to go get a phone charger, which is just real life. Let me see.
Let me look at 45%.
Let's see. Oh, you're good. Okay, I like this one. This is probably a hard one. How do you come up with such amazing quotes?
Oh, I write and I overwrite. I mean, thank you for saying that, because I don't feel like they're amazing. Thank you. But I write and I write and I overwrite. So I wrote one of I would say the shortest things that I've written that ended up getting shared in a lot of places. It was I cannot tell you what will happen, but it will be different when the light pours in. And I wish I could find the original page that was written on. Because it was, I had doodled all over the page. There were just doodles, there were scribbles. And I actually found those words, I don't even remember writing it. I know I wrote it because it was in my handwriting. I found it like months later. It was just, I just happened to look in that little corner of the page. I wasn't even writing in the lines of the page. I was like all in the margins, everywhere. So that's the first thing, is to just write and overwrite. And then for me, this isn't true for every artist, I don't think, but for me, I write for real situations. That's huge for me. That's just how I flow, I guess. As I mentioned before, I mean, I receive messages from people and I write in response to those messages. So if someone says I'm in this situation or I'm in this place, I try to imagine, well, what would I say to this person if I were standing right in front of them? I'm like, I don't know them, so I can't make even if I do know someone, I don't need to make assumptions. So that's why I write a lot. I say things like, I don't know. I use words like the unknown. I use words like uncertainty because I'm like, I don't know what the depth of that thing is because they might be trying to figure that out themselves. And if someone, and I think a lot of times when people are reaching out, they're not asking for advice or for me to fix it. They just want to know they're not alone, that they're heard, and what they're feeling is real. So I think that if you're interested in poetry or writing songs or speaking to people, just think about real situations. I think like even when I'm writing for other people, I think about myself, my younger self, all the time. I think about 15-year-old, 16-year-old Morgan, who was finding out about Survive Love in Her Arms around that time.
Yeah.
I think about her and how I was like, that was when she saw To Write Love on Her Arms, and when she saw phrases and short things that were interesting with color, I was like, that meant something to her. So maybe I can do that too. So, and I'm not just like trying to like plug here. I mean, that's like a real situation for me. That was a real part of my story. So yeah, write for the real stuff. Real people, and it's different to personality. Some people like myself, it's kind of hard to just like go deep within, like just like on a Tuesday afternoon. But it's like you may have someone in your life that you really, really care about, and you're like, I don't know what to say to them. Try to put it into a poem. So yeah, that's where I get from.
I feel like I keep doing this, but that would be my public speaking advice as well, is because it's so easy to think about ourselves and even to obsess over, obviously it's good to want to do a good job, whether we're writing or speaking or in anything. But to me, if I can think about the audience, and even not only the audience, but to imagine there could be one person here tonight who's really struggling, who isn't sure they can keep going, who isn't sure life is worth living. And all of a sudden it takes me, maybe not entirely, but it can take you out of your butterflies, the nerves, do I sound smart? Is my outfit okay? And all of a sudden I just think it can be healthy to just think about that other person and that real situation, which is hopefully the heart of the matter. And so I feel like that's really cool advice.
Yeah, that's so true for public speaking, because I definitely felt that way. I felt that way at Heavy on Light last year.
Wait, how so?
I was so nervous because I don't speak all the time. And I was just like, first of all, why am I up here? It's like, everyone's amazing. Like, why am I here? And I had a moment after when we were walking to the car and I ended up talking to someone, and everything she said, I was just like, oh, that's what I was talking to. It's like, that's what, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the numbers and all the people, but yeah.
You sang with John Foreman that night.
Yeah, still trying to process that.
And with your sister.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced that was like not a dream simulation, and like there's everyone was in on it, and
there's video evidence.
Someone just put some VR glasses on my head and said, "This is happening."
So maybe we'll do a couple more if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, you're taking a moment.
Oh no, you're good.
What inspired you to bring? I like this one. What inspired you to bring hope and mental health out in your artwork?
That's a good question. I didn't realize I was doing that at first. So it wasn't really like a decision at first because I didn't really, like earlier I said that I've dealt with loneliness, and just this whole thing of like just feeling like I was the only one. Just I've just felt that so much in my life, but I never really had language for it. It was always just kind of like a thing. So when I started writing about it, it wasn't until other people started saying to me like, "This is encouraging for my anxiety. This is encouraging for my depression." I was like, "It is? Like you deal with that too?" Oh, okay. So that's where it started, honestly. It was just kind of talking about my own feelings and thoughts that I was having about things, not realizing how much that affected my mental health, because I didn't have much knowledge about going to therapy or anything really about on the topic of mental health behind like psychology 101 in college. So I just didn't have much reference, but it was when other people started to share their experiences with me that made me more curious, and it also made me more compassionate and mindful of words that I use and how I say things and who might be listening and where they might be listening from. So yeah, that's kind of how that began.
Have you found that kind of the themes that you write about or things that you're drawn to or thinking about, that it changes over time, and is that okay? Do you kind of give yourself permission to evolve in that way?
I do. I do. It's not easy, but I because I'll get on this like I'll get on this kick where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna plan it out. I'm gonna talk about this. I'm gonna talk about that. It happened this month. I had this whole thing planned. We had these events and all this stuff, and it's just like, no, there's this massive crisis in the world, and all that's out the window. That's just gonna have to wait. So I've lately, and it's really scary to do this, and I hope this isn't like bad business advice, but I just like threw my content calendar out the window. Like I don't plan stuff. I don't know what I'm gonna post tomorrow if I'm going to. Yesterday, I skipped yesterday. Didn't even realize I skipped yesterday. I was like, oh, I didn't realize it till like 9 o'clock last night, and it was already midnight on the East Coast. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not sharing anything today, and that's okay. And it's hard. I mean, because at first, my first thing is like panic. No, you're supposed to be sharing things. Like this is a brand, and it's like, and it's also okay. Like
yeah, you're also a person.
Yeah, it's also fine. So yeah, it's a real time thing for me. But yeah, I try to allow myself to, and then what ends up happening is like I'm finding that when I'm not planning it out, when I do share something that maybe doesn't like perform as well or it doesn't get as much attention or whatever it is, I'm like, look, maybe I just needed to hear it today.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't for everybody else. Maybe I just needed to be reminded of joy. So yeah, that's kind of one of the, it's hard to just go day by day because it's like, okay, yeah, I have like an online shop and I have like a business side of it for sure. But I try to leave room for just like, let's just kind of see what happens because that's life, especially right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially right now, I think whether people are creating or writing or not, I think we can all relate to the uncertainty. None of us know what a month from now or 3 months from now looks like. And so there's this element of one day at a time that I think also helps us get through, right? Because we also only have to live one day at a time.
Yes, exactly.
and I think there's been this, hopefully this feeling like, hey, we're in it together. We're going to figure this out together. Even as you referenced kind of your family, we all get to kind of figure out who are the people I'm navigating this with. But I do think that's been maybe a healthy takeaway from this wild couple weeks, this season that we're in, is just learning to live one day at a time. And I'm sure I'm notoriously not a huge planner, but I would think for someone who is, that's been a really hard thing in this season.
Yeah, because I feel like I was like about to become a planner. Like I bought a planner this year And I'm like you. I'm not a planner, but I was
Yeah.
like 2020 is the year. I was like, I just turned 30. I'm gonna be one of those. I'm
You're
gonna
a
plan
mom.
things. Yeah, I'm a mom. I've got a plan.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just kind of thrown out the window right now. I mean, obviously, I'm still having to plan some things or try to, but
Yeah.
hold it loosely, though. You know,
Well, I think it's a time where we all need a lot of grace, and we need to give ourselves a lot of grace. I mean, even like we're figuring out Wi-Fi, and why is there no sound? And like I joked, Miley Cyrus is doing these, and she's having trouble with her internet, and we can all relate to that. Like there's just something really simple and humble about this season that we're in. You know?
Yes, absolutely. Humble's a big
well
word.
I think to wrap it up, I obviously thank you, Morgan. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for just all the good and all the words and beautiful things that you put out into the world day after day. You're also allowed to take some days off, as we touched on. And to everyone else, I just want to say, we are doing these Instagram lives more than anything to encourage people. We want to be an encouragement. We want to show up for anyone who might be struggling, for anyone dealing with anxiety, fear, uncertainty, depression. We know there are people in recovery, people trying to navigate their sobriety one day at a time. So we want to combine to be a voice of hope. And we also want to send people to our website. You can get connected to local mental health resources. I said at the very beginning of the Instagram live, you can still get help even in this time. Crisis text line, there are online support groups, there are counselors, people who work in the realm of treatment who are still actively working. It may not be an in-person appointment. It may be, a phone call or something over Skype or the equivalent of Skype. But we want to encourage you to know and to rest in the fact that if you need help, you can still get that help. And ultimately, that's our biggest dream. It's fun to be here and to talk about art and writing and inspiration. But for those of you that are really hurting, we want you to know that your life matters, that we believe life is worth living. And we want you to know that you can still put a hand up and ask for help. If you're having trouble getting connected to help, there's a section of the To Write Love on Our Arms website, TWLOHA.com. In the top right corner, you'll see the words "Find Help." There are different filters. You can enter your zip code and instantly connect with local mental health resources, including free and reduced rate services. So that's something we love to offer. If you have a general question or you just want to reach out, you can email our team. It's info@TWLOHA.com. We've created a landing page on our site. It's called Fear Won't Win. And it's everything from blog posts to podcast episodes. Morgan and I did one of those together. So if you're looking for more encouragement, self-care tips, we would love to send you to our site. If you don't already, it should almost be mandatory, but please follow Morgan. You will be in for a treat, and read her writing and be inspired, be encouraged. And we're going to keep doing these. I'm going to go ahead and announce it. I hope it's okay. But Monday is actually the organization's 14th birthday. And so we are going to have two special guests. I'm going to be joined by John Foreman of Switchfoot, Morgan's buddy, and also Nancy Lublin, who is the founder and CEO at Crisis Text Line. We talk about them a lot. I talk about them a lot. And so we're excited to hear from her, to hear what life and work looks like for her and her team. They are based in New York, and they continue to show up for people day and night. So we're honored. We're excited to have John Foreman and Nancy Lublin with us Monday, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. West Coast. And Morgan's going to keep doing what she does. And To Write Love on Our Arms, we're here for you as well. So one day at a time, we're going to get through this. Thank you for being here with us. And Morgan, thank you again for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys. Love you guys. And yes,
Oh, fun fact, Morgan is on our board of directors. We all agreed that our board got instantly so much cooler when Morgan Harper Nichols joined our board. So we are not only proud but really grateful of Morgan. Wait, you know what's funny? I mentioned that to Chris earlier, and his response was, "Why am I not on the board?" So we might have to add Chris Sullivan to the board. We'll
that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Your sister would be pumped on that.
Yes. Big awesome Zoom call.
Yeah. Well, you guys, we're going to leave it here. We will be back on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe. And we'll see you soon.